Walking through the city with you and nothing else in mind. Na jaane kya hua, kaise mera hua. Wonder how this day arrived. I guess it's fate, you're by my side. तू मेरा हो गया. आस पास अब कोई नहीं है, तेरे बिन ना जीना नहीं है. Baby, it's just you and me right now. हो ना जाए ये पल, हम थम जाए, clap for me ना जाए. हो ना जाए मैं और तुम, बस इस पल में हम रह जाए. I see a lifetime, my heart, you're my lifeline. तेरा ही इंतजार मैंने तो है किया. I just wanna say that you're the one, blinded by your light every night. Just trust me, boy. Baby, hold my hand and now we run, 'cause it's you and me right now. ये पल हम थम जाए, बह ना जाए. हो ना जाए मैं और तुम, बस इस पल में हम रह जाए. That's why. ये पल हम थम जाए, बह ना जाए. हो ना जाए मैं और तुम, बस इस पल में हम रह जाए. हो ना जाए, हम थम जाए, बह ना जाए. बस इस पल में हम रह जाए. One last time, let's go. Thank you for having me, Creative Mornings. This is awesome. I just wanted to say that the song was half in English and half in Hindi. And the Hindi part meant, I hope this moment doesn't get lost and we don't get lost in this moment. And it just stays like how it is always. Just for an explanation, because it was a different language. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. You guys are awesome.
Can we give another round of applause for Sama? I want to take full responsibility for the typo on her Instagram handle. There's an S missing, so please, sorry for that. But thank you for singing today and opening our event. And if you want to pay a coffee to Sama, there's her PayPal and her Venmo. And if you want to discover more of her music, there's going to be, in the follow-up email, we're going to be linking to all of your things. So thank you so much. Good Creative Mornings, everyone. My name is Tina. I'm the founder of Creative Mornings and your New York City chapter host, and I am so happy to welcome you here at CUNY. And I want to also welcome everyone that is tuning in on the live stream, probably being cozy in bed with a cup of coffee. And I'm welcoming you today on the ancestral land of the Lenape people. And we want to recognize the significance of Brooklyn and New York City for Lenape people, past and present. A big, giant thank you to the team at CUNY here, and especially Anke for having us back here. We love your venue. We love being here. I sleep really well when we know we're going to be hosted here. And for those of you who are not familiar with this venue, the Graduate Center is a public research institution and a postgraduate university. And they are committed to doctoral and master's education for the public good. And fun fact, they also offer professional development, non-degree programs, and online courses to level up your career. You can find them on the CUNY website, which we will share in the follow-up email. And also, if you're someone who organizes events, I want you to know you can rent this venue and the many more other smaller venues outside. So if you're planning a gathering for a movie screening or a theater or whatever it is, come and talk to Anke and her team, or we can connect you. The information will be in the follow-up email. So thank you, CUNY. Without you, we couldn't do these events without generous hosts like you. All right, this is always my favorite. By raise of hands, who is here for the first time? I love this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I will give you a hug if you want afterwards, just so that you understand how excited I am about first-timers here. And the first-timers might actually not realize that we are happening all over the world. Each one of these dots represents a chapter that is run by really kind, generous volunteers. And I had the absolute pleasure to attend the Santa Fe chapter last week. It just so happened that I was having a mini break out there with my partner, Tim. And I looked up if Santa Fe was hosting an event, and they did. And I have to say, it's really nice when you're just attending and not in charge of anything. And I was so deeply moved because the Santa Fe chapter pours so much love into their events. And one thing that I loved in particular, and I want to show you, and I wish we could do it, but our scale is makes it a bit impossible. They tell people to bring their mug, which I think we should start doing. And then, if you forgot your mug, they have a mug library. How sweet is this? And so I just want to tell you, next time you go on vacation, and you might go to a city where there's a chapter, just look up if they're having an event. Or if you don't see it yet because it's too far out, you could also email them. There's a contact button there. You never know. It's really lovely to be reminded that we're local, yet global and connected. So highly recommend. So one ritual that keeps us connected with all the chapters is that we read the Creative Mornings Manifesto on stage. And the reason we do this is that it reminds us of our values and reminds us actually why we do what we do here at Creative Mornings. And so every month here in New York, we have someone from the community read the manifesto. And this month, it is Bobby Sarkar, who lives in Honolulu and is actually an organizer of the Honolulu chapter. So Bobby, please do us the honor.
Morning. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make things you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in hugs and high fives. We bring people together who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome. Thank you.
So anyone planning to go Honolulu anytime soon? If you are, please talk to Bobby so you can time your vacation with the Creative Mornings event. All right, next up. Did you put, Exa, come on please up. Who put their name into the 30-second pitch wheel? Who are the brave souls? I applaud you.
All right, friends, we had so many submissions. Thank you. Please keep doing this. It's amazing. We have only room for 4 pitches. They're 30 seconds each. I'm going to say your name now, but you're not going to come up until after the event. So once the Q&A starts, just join me over here and we'll get you. I've got Teddy Curtis, Pete Miser, Divya, and Liana Malley.
You are very confident that there was only one Divya who put their name in. Okay. If there's two, you both get to go. I'm just gonna overrule this. It's okay. Are you glad we welcome you with coffee when you stroll in the mornings? I am. And we're able to do that and offer you free breakfast because we have really generous and wonderful local partners that make that possible, and please allow me to thank them. First off, our beloved local partner, MPB. Who here has photo gear or video gear sitting in a drawer that is just sad and might want to be set free? That's what MPB does. You can sell or purchase used camera gear and photo gear, and they resell more than 500,000 items of used camera gear a year, which I think is really impressive. And it's become the new tradition as I prepare for this event to sort of click through on the recently added gear. And clearly, for those of you who come here all the time, I am slightly Leica obsessed because this is the one that I was like, ooh, I would like you. Anyway, thank you, MPB. We love you so much. And then next up, I want to thank our longstanding partner, Harvest. Just like us, they're a New York City-based company, and I love that they make me think about time. And as a lover of quotes, I always think of them when I come across a quote that I like and that is time-related. For example, this one by Pablo Picasso, "It takes a long time to become young." I definitely feel this quote. And if you also think about time in your day-to-day, and you need a simple and beautiful way to track and manage your time, expenses and invoices, I really urge you to check out getharvest.com. It's an excellent tool for independent creatives and small businesses, and it's a company run by wonderful, generous, warm humans. And if you're a quotes lover like me, I want you to know, I find the best ones over on niche.com. Okay, before we go into the main portion of today's event, which is Ivan's talk, I want to tell you about something that I'm so extremely excited about. And those of you who come every month, she's like, ooh, she's talking about clubs again. Clubs is our newest thing. Yes, yes! Clubs is our newest baby. They are community-led, hyper-local, intimate gatherings around something you love. So they are entirely organized by you for each other. So who here has attended a club? Yes. Who here hosts a club? Yes, I see you. Who here has been sort of thinking about maybe being brave and hosting a club? Yes. Okay, so one of the clubs that is really putting a smile on my face every time I see this is actually by Lenny, who's here. It's called, woo, Lenny! It's Dumpling Dude. The concept is simple. You make dumplings together, and then you sit down and eat them, and you talk about a predetermined topic. What a cool concept. I love it so much. And we started prototyping the concept of clubs, the idea of clubs, in April here in New York. We have 22 unique clubs up and running. That means 22 clubs with a recurring event. So that means these events have a heartbeat, you can schedule around them, they're at all kinds of times of days and different days, because we've heard you. You said once a month is not enough, and especially some of you cannot do Friday mornings or Thursday mornings like today. So clubs is a bona fide friend-making machine. So for example, you can mend clothes, like in this one. Sorry, I'm going off script here. And if you're thinking for yourself, these are all established clubs. I didn't dare to go into this and like start. No. 40% of the people that attend a club are new to it. And you're so totally not alone if you want to just dip into a club, and you can join at any time. So I want to highlight a few that are currently up and running. For example, Finances Over Coffee is happening today. You can probably still sign up if you want to have a double dip Creative Mornings Day. The Color Wheel Date, which aims to help connect you to your creative essence. Who doesn't want that? Idealist Days, run by Matthew, who's back there handling our live stream. It brings together a crew of talented community or builders to do good. And, or for example, Make Time, a creative meetup for people who are looking to paint, illustrate, draw, or sketch more. So there's so many more. So go and check out the club's landing page on our site. Sign up for one, apply to host one, participate, tell us what you like, what you don't like, because we are prototyping these, and we are going to expand them globally, probably in the coming months. And for those of you who have been at the April event with Pete Davis, who gave an incredible talk about clubs and why they're important and why you should join one, because they're essential for the fabric of society, you might want to know that his documentary, that is literally the anthem to my human gatherer soul, is now available on Netflix. It just came online last Friday, on the 18th. And if you're interested in about gatherings and why they're important and why our society needs it more than ever, go watch Join or Die on Netflix. Can you tell how excited I am? I'm pretty sure Ivan is like, is she ever gonna give me the mic? So, okay, this month's global theme at Creative Mornings in our universe is vision, and it was chosen by our Riyadh chapter and illustrated by Razan Al-Shalan. Ivan, let me introduce you to a legend. I met Ivan 2 years ago because he applied to join the co-working space I run in Brooklyn where Creative Mornings HQ works out of. I remember seeing his application come through and clicking into his universe and getting lost in his projects, and I was like, yes, I want to have lunch with you and coffee with you and learn about the interesting projects you're building. It was just a no-brainer. He's the kind of person I want to surround myself with in my life. And so now here we all are, and you're all going to get a glimpse of how Ivan operates in the world. He's an immensely talented, award-winning artist and filmmaker. He's the founder of Cash Studios, a creative studio that creates non-traditional creative projects and is known for the bold human lens. Give a rock star of applause for Ivan, please.
Okay. Tina taught me a new word called anxited, when you're anxious and excited. So thank you for that, Tina. I'm feeling very anxited, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you for waking up early for whatever I'm about to say, which is life is short. Let's make some beautiful, inspiring, exquisite, deep, emotionally feeling work while we can. Okay. I want to start with some backgrounds. This is my mom, Julie, and my dad, Sydney. My mom's a retired public school teacher. My dad is an artist, and growing up, my parents were really hippies. And when you have hippie parents, you don't have things like video games or junk food or TV. And so in addition to being the only Jewish kid in school, I was also a real cultural alien. And so that kind of inspired a lifelong fascination with human connection. But back to my dad. This is him. I don't even know if I need to say anything about this. I don't. I'm going to go up. I'm just going to go to the next slide. No, he's a compulsive creator, a real artist's artist. And so growing up, creativity was valued. Creativity was valued in our household above all else. It was really our religion, was creativity, which, you know, sounds pretty nice, right? It's like everyone wants parents like that. And my dad's work is beautiful. This is some of his glass sculpture work. But having an artist parent is also really challenging because some years his work would sell, and then other years he would totally change his body of work and it wouldn't sell, like at all, for many, many years on end. And so growing up, I made myself a promise. It was just, being an artist was too unstable. I didn't want any part of it. And yet here I am today in front of you at Creative Mornings, so I failed. And I'm wondering, for the designers, artists, creative directors, entrepreneurs, et cetera in the house, have you ever just had like this creative urge where you just have to go out and make something? Even if it's impractical, you just are like, fuck it, I've got to go do this thing. That's kind of been my blessing and curse as well. And so I want to share 4 quick projects just to give you background on my response to that. Are there any handwritten letter fans in the house by a show of hands? This is such an amazing audience. I gave a keynote at an undisclosed place yesterday, and there was like 3 hands in there. Snail mail my email. Is a collaborative art project that transforms emails into handwritten letters. And I ended up recruiting 2,000 volunteers to send out 30,000 letters around the world. This was a free service, turned into a book. It's a great stocking stuffer for the holidays. And this project taught me the value of human connection in our increasingly digital world. During the Occupy protests, Buddy and I created these custom infographics about the wealth disparity in America that's stamped on dollar bills, which is a medium that naturally circulates. And yeah, we were really excited to kind of get this out into the world at the time. And this project taught me the value of how really everything can be a medium. Okay, so this month's theme is vision, and so I thought I had to throw this in here. This is IRL glasses. When you put them on, they block screens. And this was a Kickstarter project that a buddy and I made. We sold 2,000 pairs in a month, and they are now collected at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, along with Snap spectacles and Google Glass. And I invite you to consider the budget that we had versus the budget that those 2 respective companies had. And I'm really interested in technology and humanity and the fact that most of us are just walking around looking down at a screen 99% of the time, myself included. And so I started asking strangers on the street, what's the last photo on your phone and the backstory? And it's an amazing icebreaker. I invite you, if you're like meeting someone for the first time, just like ask that question. It's great. Even if it's like a mundane, boring photo, it still gives you like an interesting lens into who they are. So this is a project I did that made its rounds around the internet. And this is just me trying to impress you, to be honest. These are different independent projects I've done through the years and the press coverage they've received. And I also share it because I'm interested not just in like creating the thing, but then like what happens to the thing and like how do people respond to it and what are the ripple effects, so it's really exciting. And media agnostic is a principle of my studio and my work where we start with the concept and let that inform what the execution is. And so all this work is great, really fulfilling on the creative side, but not as much fulfilling or resourced on the commerce side. It's all independent projects, unpaid. And so I ended up getting a job in advertising working at Wieden Kennedy Amsterdam. It's an amazing independent agency, and I got hired based solely on my art project, so I was like really excited. I lasted 5 months, and for me, working at an ad agency meant doing a lot of presentations, but not making anything, and I just needed to make. So before going back to the United States, because my visa ended, I was so appreciative of art and culture in the Netherlands, because they spend $3 billion per year on art and culture, which is amazing. That ends up being over $200 per capita. I was going to invite you to guess what the American expenditure is, but I'm not going to ask you to guess. I'm just going to tell you. We spend $6.83 per capita on art and culture, so that's roughly 1/30 per person. And so coming back to the States from Amsterdam, I was like, okay, my dad's an artist, I saw how that went, and then like looking at this kind of budgetary discrepancy, I need to figure out like, how do I make it? How do you make it, you guys? It's a daunting question. And so I became interested in, is it possible to like figure out the margins and like find this little Venn diagram sweet spot between art and commerce where like art is resourced and commercial work can be like human and like actually inspiring? I don't know the answer to this, but I'm in pursuit of it. And the thesis of this inspired Cash Studios, which is my studio. This logo was designed by Zipeng Zhu, who could not be here, but I want to shout him out. And yeah, we do campaigns, films, experiences, and products for some of the biggest brands in the world. I would say most of our work is non-traditional and leans towards like celebrating human connection. But it's impossible to create in a vacuum, and in running a studio, we have to be cognizant of the larger creative landscape, right? And so I was really inspired by Liz Tran's talk last month at Creative Mornings, and so I'm totally copying this. I'm gonna ask everyone, I know it's early, would you mind standing up for a quick interactive exercise? It's kind of a cool sound. Okay, I'm gonna read a couple prompts, and I'm gonna invite you to stay standing if you agree with the prompt. If you disagree, you can sit down. You can stand down. Stand down. So stay standing if you agree with the statement, I am overwhelmed by the amount of content available. So we've got 4 million hours of video content being created every day. I feel like everyone here has a friend that started a podcast last week that wants you to listen. And you should listen, for that matter. Stay standing if you agree with, I'm concerned that my experience is being filtered through an algorithm. More and more of what we experience is dictated by lines of code. Stay standing if you agree with, I have big questions around how AI will impact the future of creative work. I have many thoughts about AI. Now is not the time for them, but I do wonder if creative work is how we express our humanity, how does AI fit into that? I'm inundated with more data than I know what to do with. Analytics, data, metrics, all helpful, and it's so much. And then finally, my attention span is getting shorter and shorter. In 2004, the average attention span was 2.5 minutes. Today it's 47 seconds, which means you've already forgotten what this talk is about. Okay, you can all gracefully sit down. Thank you. It was a cooler sound when you stood up. So for these reasons and more, I would argue that creativity as we know it is under siege. Maybe it sounds dramatic, but it feels really true in my heart. And it's definitely a way, way crazier landscape than when my dad was my age. So the rest of this talk is, what the hell can we do about it? And I don't feel like an expert. I feel like someone who's like in the pursuit of figuring this out in real time with people like you. So maybe some of this resonates. If it doesn't, ignore it. But yeah, for the remainder of the talk, I will humbly attempt to make it clear how we can find opportunities, big or small, to create great art, because that's what we all want at the end of the day, I think. Okay, I'm excited to get into the case studies. Sea Lion Cow. Last summer, I was doing a really big commercial project, the biggest of my career, and for our studio. It was a 5-day shoot, really big client, really big budget, huge crew, and it ran me into the ground. It was like the most intense work project you've ever dealt with. It was that for me. I was definitely coming back to the apartment, crying to my wife, and was just like, I'm just so burdened and in over my head. And finally, at the end of the project, we were successful, but it was just like everyone on my team was running on fumes. It was really intense. I'm sure you can all imagine a work project like that. And so on Friday, when we went into overtime, I found out that all of the fancy gear, a really nice camera, some amazing lenses, were just gonna sit in a box truck for the whole weekend because we missed our deadline. And that didn't sit well with me. And so I very gently asked a couple crew members, I just kind of like planted a seed, like, would you wanna like maybe do a little passion project this weekend with the gear? And they were like, one by one, they were like, yeah, I guess I could get into that. Okay, like, what are you thinking? And I was like, I don't know yet, but like, I'm just like feeling it out. And then I asked my wife, and this was the text message that she sent to me. She was my fiance at the time, and thank God she still married me. And she was not wrong. It was deranged, but she did give her blessing. And from there, I called on one of the most talented musicians I know and the most irresponsible person I know, my good friend Gideon. And I said, hey, I have this idea. I want to make a music video tomorrow. Are you in? And he was like, do you know what it's about? And I was like, no. And he's like, yeah, I'm in. Gideon's in the audience here tonight. Shout out, Gideon. And so we picked one of his songs, Sea Lion Cow, and in 24 hours, we're shooting a film on the G train from midnight to 4 a.m. We had the idea of doing one take, and so we ended up getting one usable take from our entire time filming, and we were actually lucky to do that. This isn't in the script, but even at the beginning of the shoot, our box truck hit another car, and so it was just like, it was a lot, but we got there. So the film isn't out yet, for reasons I'll later explain, but I want to just give you like a little bit of a peek behind the scenes of what this film is like. So can we dim the lights? Yeah, amazing, thank you. So we start with Gideon in the subway. He's singing this song. He's holding this houseplant. And like, to be honest, it's pretty boring. The first 2 minutes are him just singing in the subway. That's it. There's like no narrative plot. You know, some people on the subway seem to like it, some not as much. And so I now want to give a teaser into like 30 seconds of the film when something kind of amazing happens. Here we go. Can we dim the lights?
Oh, my baby, don't cry, don't cry.
Thank you. This film ignored all of the best practices of how you're supposed to make film today and now, like today's age. It broke the rules for engagement. It broke the best practices for an algorithm. It didn't rely on any data. It certainly didn't play into people's short attention spans. Literally the first 2 minutes are just like Gideon singing on the subway with no narrative action happening whatsoever. Our plan was to release the film online and just kind of see what happened. And then my cousin Josh watched it and was like, oh, you should submit this to a festival. You should submit it to Tribeca. And lo and behold, we did. And our little film with no budget that was made in 24 hours and had just one usable take got to play on one of the most prestigious stages in the world. It's pretty cool. Right? Yeah, super surreal. We definitely were not going after that. The film is not yet released because we're currently talking to potential media partners about distribution, which is really exciting. But I guess my takeaway here is like, we definitely didn't make this for a feed. And I fear that if we did, it wouldn't have been as kind of magical and serendipitous as it was. So the lesson and the takeaway here is to just think outside the algorithm and not try to just make work for the feed as compelling as that urge can be. And am I deranged, as my wife accused me of being? Probably. But I would argue that to make great art, you kind of have to pull that card sometimes and just like go out on a limb, and even if you haven't had sleep, just like do the damn thing. So. Hear that, Carla? Okay. Substack reached out to our studio to conceptualize and produce their largest storytelling partnership to date, which was a real honor. This was the assignment, and it was a really tight timeline, and so it seemed like a great opportunity to introduce them to this new business model that our studio has been prototyping called the trust model. What does this mean? So a typical client project will have 3 rounds at every phase so they can be really involved and make sure that they're on board all the way through. With the trust model, you get 0 rounds of feedback. But we always align up front so they kind of know what they're getting in theory, and then they just let us go for it. And you might be wondering, like, why would a client ever do that? This doesn't make any sense. What's the motivation? 2 really good reasons. 1, it cuts the timeline in half. Because there's no rounds of revisions, we know what we're doing, we can just kind of get there. And secondly, it costs half the price, more or less, because we're not dealing with rounds and rounds of feedback, we can just kind of do our thing. And it's definitely a big risk, it's not right for everyone, but Substack was into it. So we got to spend 3 to 4 weeks in a studio in Midtown Manhattan. Shout out to Khalil and Julie in the audience for their help, and anyone else that's here. It was a lot of fun just to prototype and to experiment. Big fan of those things. Rick Rubin has a quote, "I never decide if an idea is good or bad until I try it." And so we landed, this is Allison Roman. Can we dim the lights a little bit for this? And it's a really simple, that's great, thank you. Black and white, sophisticated, And we loved how this really showcased the creator's humanity. We wanted it to really be reflective of who they were. And so we developed 4 original formats. Each were 30 seconds to 3 minutes in length. There was haiku in 60 seconds. And so you'd reach your hand into this fishbowl, grab a haiku, and be on your way. There was lip service, which highlights Substackers reading their favorite writing with this uniquely intimate crop. And I think this is a really good example of like, if there were clients involved, after 3 rounds, they'd probably be like, yeah, can we like not have a close-up of people's mouth? But I love it. I'm so into it. And then we have rapid fire. Shout out to Ankit if you're in the house. And I'm going to play you one video of creators responding to the prompt, what's your favorite word? So I'm going to play the video now, if we can dim the lights.
Schmaltz.
Fantastic.
Libidinal. Glory.
Flabbergasted.
Whimsical.
Yes.
Oldster.
Strawberry. Bananas.
Ooh la la.
That's not a word.
Obligatory.
Judiciously.
Cigar.
Nuance.
Yapping.
Dog.
Shimmer.
Oh, inchoate.
Interpolate.
Crepuscular.
Verbose.
Fuck.
So these were a lot of fun and a lot of work. We made 280 films, which is more films than I've ever made on a project. And as the members of my team will tell you, it was a very exciting and humbling endeavor to make that many films and QC every single one. But we were really happy with how they came out, as was Substack. And I wanted to read a quote by our client, Mills. He says, "The best work arises when talented people are given creative freedom for reasons ranging from the trivial. Teams spend more energy on their own vision to the profound. The through line is fragile and best preserved by limiting the number of forces shaping it." It's so good. That's our client. And so the lesson here is that creative freedom is greater than creative by committee. Committees kill creativity, you guys. Committees kill creativity. Hold on. I want you to actually say it with me. Committees kill creativity. Thank you. Yeah, I totally respect the impulse to appease everyone, but consensus-based decision-making is not always right for championing a bold idea. So, okay, last project I want to share with you is for the San Francisco Museum of Modern Arts. And they approached my studio 3 months ago during the busiest stretch that we'd ever had. We were doing 4 concurrent projects. We had a call with them. They wanted us to, or they were looking for someone to promote their upcoming sports-themed exhibition with an ownable video campaign. This was their biggest exhibition to date, so it was like a really big deal. And we were trying to figure out, like, can we make this happen? The timeline, I don't know. And as we were kind of considering that, I had this spark of inspiration at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday as I was in bed, going to bed, had just turned out the light, lying down. I've got it. And like any good deranged person, I got out of bed and spent 4 hours writing a treatment called Night at the Museum. The idea of this elite basketball player dribbling through the museum at night, interacting with the architecture, with the art, and worked with my team to create a 40-page pitch deck, really like went for it. And in spite of the fact that it was a long shot, for reasons that I mentioned, like we knew we probably weren't gonna do it, but we still just wanted to like give it our all. And what do you know, SF MoMA wrote back and said, let's go for it. And so we immediately got to work bringing the treatment into life. And are there any Paige Beckers fans in the house? Couple. So in like a year from now, more than half of you will be like, yeah, Paige. She's going to be the #1 draft pick of the WNBA, amazing basketball player. And we got her to be in our film. So without further ado, I'm going to play the SF MoMA film, and then I'll talk about it a little bit. super proud of that one. Shout out to Khalil in the audience for all of your help throughout that project. Yeah, SF MoMA was thrilled. Our team was really happy with this. But as you might imagine, it wasn't without challenges in working with an institution that has over 1 million visitors per year, countless departments, 5 curatorial teams, a board of trustees, and a concept where you're dribbling a basketball. And the entire premise of the museum is to hold very valuable artwork that, like, there are departments whose job it was to just make sure that the art wasn't in any way compromised, and even if there was a 0.001% chance of that art being compromised or broken, that was like a red flag. So even after it was approved by our kind of like marketing team that we were working with at SF MoMA, there were all these other departments that were like, wait, what are you doing? And so I want to share a couple of examples of stakeholder feedback because I think it's like helpful to pull back the curtain and just explain, like, even though the end product was like exciting, it definitely is like a journey to get there. So these are all examples of stakeholder feedback. What if we film during the day instead of at night, right? That'd be a lot easier. Can we add a second basketball player? Can we half the crew size? Can we add a disclaimer to make it clear that visitors are not allowed to touch any of the art? Can we add a behind the scenes interview? How can we make the dream metaphor more literal? Can we explore an alt version of the film without any dribbling? That was the last business day before the shoot. Can we explore an alt version of the film without any art? And like, here's the thing, if you're doing collaborations with big organizations like this is normal. And it was definitely, I think my whole team and I learned, we were like humbled by this, but it's totally, that's what stakeholders do. They have concerns, and they have to ask their questions. And so more and more I've kind of realized that as a creative studio, our job is to navigate that and to figure out how do we acquiesce to some of the feedback and how do we really push back. And so in this case, we were like, no, we can't film during the day, even though that'd be like way easier logistically for you guys. The whole concept is night at the museum. If we have sunlight shining through, it's like not gonna work. But we were like very happy to find 10 to 15 minutes in the middle of the shoot for them to get a BTS interview with Paige. That made a lot of sense to us. So yeah, really happy and proud of this idea. And I guess the takeaway is just you gotta really go big. Because we didn't know if we were gonna get the project or not, but we wanted to make it happen, and that navigating feedback is really an art in and of itself. So the lesson here is take ridiculously big swings because you never are gonna strike a nerve by playing it safe, and you never know what's gonna happen. Okay, getting towards the end, you guys. So sad. How can we go from trapped by the algorithm to think outside the algorithm? Creative by committee to creative freedom. And finally, fear of taking risks to take ridiculously big swings. And speaking of this, ridiculously big swings, here, can we dim the lights a little bit for this still? This is a photo of, or it's a still image of my dad, that's great, thank you, from a feature documentary that we're working on about him called The Ever Curious Man. And it's exploring the staggering beauty and sobering cost of being an artist. And I wanted to show this because he's so creative, always pushing the envelope, that even discarding old work has become its own creative project for him. And he's at the tender age of 83, continuing to make art at a furious pace. And spending time with him through this filmmaking process, I'm acutely aware that life doesn't last forever. In fact, it goes by pretty fast. But making creative work fuels his passion, keeps him vital, and gives him meaning. And I would argue that that's what we all want. I think we're all trying to make something that matters, that has meaning, that strikes a chord in someone, that resonates. And so I hope with this talk, it leaves you with the idea of however big the opportunity is or small, just try to figure out how can you make great art, because life is short. And I hope that you make beautiful things with it. So the world needs it. Thank you. Thank you.
Now that was lovely. Ivan, you're so cool.
It was over your 20 minutes, I'm sorry.
I know, that's okay. Who has a question for Ivan? raise your hand. We'll come to you. I thought you come, oh, there we go.
Hi, Ivan. Great job.
Thank you.
Do you have advice on how you share work once it's complete?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that I love making the work, and I also think that like sharing it out is a really important part of the process. And I find a lot of folks kind of get this wrong. A lot of creative folks think like, oh, if I just make the thing, the audience will, naturally find it. And I really think that's a misnomer. I think that if you put a lot of passion and time into something, it's worth putting that same level of intensity that you made the thing with to like get it out in the world. And maybe that means like emailing your friends. Maybe it means like posting a bunch about that project. We at the studio have been prototyping this idea of friends over algorithms, where we'll have like a media, like an advertising budget of $1,000 and offer to Venmo the first 100 people that share our project $10. And so it's just a way of being like, we could put that on like promoted Instagram things, but we're just gonna like Venmo our friends $10, and that's something that we're like trialing out. So I think it's just worth really taking that kind of like what we call impact really seriously, and not underestimating the importance of that phase to get your work seen. Yeah, there's a couple.
Sure. Hi, I'm Life. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. That was awesome. As a creative, as an artist and a writer, I loved what you shared, and I was wondering if you could share that little process between having the spark of the idea, getting into bed, and getting up and doing it. Because I will be walking down the street, and I gotta stop and write. So I want to hear your take on it.
I mean, it sounds like if you're walking down the street and then you stop, and do you actually stop to write?
Yeah, I'll move to the side.
So I think you've got it. Like, we've got the same process, baby. I think I guess it's a little bit of like this torturous mindset of like always kind of in the back of my mind holding these different prompts, and like one was like the SF MoMA thing, so it's like always somewhere in there. And I feel like when I'm, different people, it's like in the shower, on a run. For me, it's like when I'm going to bed at night, that's just stewing. And I think I guess the question is like, when do you actually get up, and when are you like, no, I need a full night's sleep? And in that case, I just made the call of like, I think it's just like a how inspired are you meter. And I think we all have that barometer, right? It's like, oh, 3 out of 10 inspired, or excited, or excited. Maybe I'm not gonna get out of bed, but if it's like a 7 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, like I'm gonna get out of bed and write on it, yeah. So, yeah, Justin. Speak up.
Mike, wait. Also, there's a question back there.
I have a question.
Okay, cool.
Hi, Ivan. Thank you so much for your talk. This is great. You kind of began the talk with the whole art and commerce and finding the sweet spot. And so I have 2 questions, if that's allowed. The first one is, do you think you found that sweet spot? And the second question is, do you still make time for just your own art outside of commerce?
Yeah. Whether or not I found this sweet spot is totally dependent on where I am in the year, as like any independent creative or small business will tell you. So like right now I'm coming off this like bananas 5 months of just like nonstop work, and I'm like probably further on the like commercial work side, but now everything's slowing down and I get to like really put time into the feature documentary I'm working on, and that's definitely like the art. So it's never perfect 50-50, it's a pendulum. I really think about life as just a pendulum, and so it's like, okay, one extreme, the other extreme, and both of them complement each other. And yeah, I think that's the best answer I can give.
Can our 30-second pitch fans meet me down here? Still more questions, but just 30-second pitchers.
Hi, Ivan. Longtime fan, very proud of you. You said, your childhood you felt very disconnected from people and very alienated. What has surprised you the most about now being connected to people and finding so much humanity?
Okay, well first, Justin's being kind of coy, but I've watched his talks when I was like in college and was like, this guy's amazing, and like definitely one of the people that inspires me, so it means a lot to have you here. And the question is what surprised me about having, like, I guess like how down people are and how it's like not, I feel like when people are kids and like I got bullied growing up, like it can be like pretty intense. And I feel like by and large, as an adult, you get to like pick and choose the people that you want to hang out with. And I feel like most people are like, even if they were bullies as kids, they like grow up and they're like, okay, it's probably better to be a nice person. So I guess I've even like become friends with people that were like not the nicest to me growing up and have been like, hey, I'm really sorry about that. So yeah, that'd be my response.
I'm just going to ask one more question.
All right.
The last one. I believe you no longer live in the city, right? Can you talk a bit about environment for you and being creative?
Yeah, so my wife and I live in the Catskills, and I mean, for a while we would like move around and like rent a place in New York for a while, be in California. We're trying to really like double down on just being in the Hudson Valley. And I guess, I haven't really thought too much about this, but I think being free of so much distraction is probably really helpful for my like mental and psychic space and just having like more quiet. And I feel like as creative people, it's important. I don't think you need to live outside of the city to get that, but I do think it's really important to find pockets of silence, whether that means like sleeping with the phone outside of your bedroom or what have you. But yeah, that would probably be it. So thank you. Thanks, everybody.
See now why I let him be a member of a co-working space? The conversations were so good. Thank you, Ivan. All right, 30-second pictures. Please come on up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leanna. I want to start with the word meraki, which is a Greek word, and it means to do things with soul, creativity, and love. And I think, just to put myself out there, that's just what I'm here for in general. Looking for love in the city and also a career. I just finished my master's in UX. I paint murals. I'm a graphic designer. My thesis was on the importance of involving psychology with design and play and merging that with UI. And I think that just really sums up who I am. I tattoo my friends on the side, and yeah, thanks.
Morning, how y'all doing? My name's Teddy Curtis. I'm hosting a Creative Mornings club called Speed Creating. So the concept is it's like speed dating, but for creatives, and you're not looking for romance, you're looking for creative chemistry, creative collaborators. It kind of sparked from the idea there's so many networking events where you go and you meet people and you talk about the things you're gonna do or should do, and then you never speak again. So what if instead you spent that hour just doing it, just experimenting, working on something? In the meetings, we'll cycle through short conversations, just like speed dating, and then you'll get paired up and then put into groups and work on something within the time limits, maybe about an hour, depending on the meeting, the reservation, and then you get together and share at the end. All disciplines are welcome. Doesn't matter your field, we'll find something for you to work on. If this sounds scary to you, you 100% should come. This is to get out your comfort zone and kill the overthinking process. If you're looking for creative partners, collaborators, working on a project, yeah, you should come. It's in the classrooms at Pier 57. First one's November 2nd. Go to speedcreating.nyc to sign up, or the Creative Mornings page. Thanks.
Hey, my name's Pete Ho. My rapper name is Pete Miser. This is my first Creative Mornings meeting, really super inspiring. I've been doing creative work for a living since 1992 as a touring musician, filmmaker, visual artist, writer, photographer, on and on and on. And it occurred to me recently, I've also been a political activist that whole time. And I want to do more than phone banking. I have done more than phone banking. And it's really important to me to leave everything on the court on this election. So if anybody's got a creative project that they're trying to get over the line, please hit me. I want to edit it. I want to help you write it. I want to help you shoot it. We got less than 2 weeks left, so. And I'm crazy talented.
Hello, my name is Divya, and I have a question for you. Have you ever wondered what happens when you take a programmer out of tech? Well, There's a place that I go to called Recurse Center, which is a retreat for programmers. Most of us are burnt out, and we do not like working in tech, but we're trying to reach our creative side. So it is a blend between a creative and the cerebral. So programmers generally don't have a problem with the commerce side of things, but the creative side of things is something that we're trying to nurture. And so if you've heard of the project 1 Million Checkboxes, that's by Nolan. He was at Recurse Center. Another project that was worked on was called Phone, which is a rotary phone that only your friends can call, so you don't get spam calls. And so if you're interested in working on creative projects, you don't necessarily have to be a programmer, you just have to have interest in working on technology. You can come and find me, or you can go to recursecenter.com or recurse.com. Thank you.
Okay, I want to say, I forget the name of the first one. I applaud you. That takes guts. And I want you to know that many years ago, this young gentleman pitched himself for love, and they're now engaged. So I'm rooting for you. And also I want to say, like, the 30-second pitches are always just, they're blowing my mind, and it's just such a testament to the interestingness, the interest, it's just the talent that is in this audience. So thank you all for being game and coming on stage and being bold and brave and taking the mic. So before I let you go, I want to say thank you to the volunteers that make these events possible. Amelia, Angelica, Brian, Casey, Celestine, Danielle, Emily, Exa, Krista, Leah, Megan, Meredith, Paul, and Cece. Let me correct that. It's Leah. I'm sorry, Leah. I should do better. And then I want to thank Nelson for taking photos so you all can see how good you look today. And I want to thank Amin, and also Connie. I'm sorry, Connie, you didn't make it on the slide, but Connie, you're the best, right there. And then I want to thank the live stream team, Matthew, Chat, and Isabella, for making today's live stream happen. All of these folks are extremely kind and fun and reliable, and you can hire them. And next month, so excited, we're going to be back at L'Alliance, the beautiful venue on 60th Street. It will be on November 22nd. We will get to hear from Ren Rigby, formerly known as Mike Rigby, a wonderful, talented designer, and just heart-forward human. So stay tuned for that one. And as always, I want to leave you with a quote. This one is by Kay Ryan. "The room is almost all elephant. Almost none of it isn't. Pretty much solid elephant. So there's no room to talk about it." Thank you for being here. See you next month.